Thank you so much. But I got a letter on a lonesome day. It was from her ship a-sailing. So I was born in a town called Holland, Michigan, which is in the southwest corner of the Great Lakes state of Michigan. Yeah, and I lived there for, you know, the first 19 years of my life, and you know, that's where I was born and raised. And no, I mean, it's like suburbs, and I mean, there's farms. There's actually a big a blueberry producing community, so it's like you know, there are farms, but you know, it's just kind of your run-of-the-mill town. It's got a lot of like Dutch heritage. You know, it's called Holland, Michigan. You know, so there's a lot of Dutch heritage, and it's you know, it's yeah, it's on the west side of the state. Detroit is east, Holland's west. You know, but it's pretty much like similar. Longitude? Is that the right? Is that the right? Longitude, yeah. Longitude, not latitude. I don't know which one's which, yeah. But you know, yeah. My mom's side is from Michigan, you know, and they've lived there for a long time. And I think originally they lived in the South at some point, but they moved north at, you know, I don't know when, and they've lived there for a while. And then my dad's side immigrated from the Netherlands to Michigan, you know, so they came, you know, like on a boat in I think the 1880s or 1890s. So they lived there, you know, in that West Michigan area for, you know.
So you have about a lot of Michigan ties, like going.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's a pretty conservative area because the you know, like the Dutch people that emigrated there, they left the Netherlands because the Netherlands was like getting liberal, you know, like, so they left because their I guess their brand of Protestantism was more strict. So like, it's a conservative area, you know, and it's a lot of you know, so like, I'd say like, what did we do? You know, like I pretty much just like grew up on the normal, you know, like American diet of like, you know, Legos and video games, I'd say. You know, like that was basically what we did, man. Like that's what Pokemon, you know, like rode our bikes around and dicked off and, you know, fucked around and, you know, like, yeah, pretty much just a very normal American, you know, upbringing, I'd say, is what, or you know, whatever you want to say, like suburban American, I don't know, you know. I got two brothers, so I got an older brother who is 2 years older than me. He's actually getting married in June, so congratulations to him.
Yeah. Shouts out.
And then I got a younger brother, he's 2 years younger, you know, and he goes to school at Michigan State, and he's studying political science. I hope they're okay with me divulging these details of their lives, but I was talking to my older brother today, actually, on the phone, and he's like, "You called me just to rub it in that you're at the beach, because you know Michigan's cold right now. It sucks there, you know." So he, I think like, you know, we just have like right now, like I just live a sort of different lifestyle than them, but you know they're supportive and they kind of believe in what I'm doing, you know, and they believe in me as a musician and as a person, and I think that, you know, they're supportive. I'd say my whole family's, for the most part, supportive of what I do.
Love is too short, so love the one you got, cause you might get run over, you might get shot. Never stock static, I get it off my chest. Never had a battle with my bulletproof vest. Take a smart example, quit for me. Take all of your money, give it all to charity. Realize what I got within my reach, and my songs go hard straight to Long Beach. It all comes back to you, you're bound to get what you deserve. Trying to test that, bound to get served. Love's what I got, don't start a riot. Feel it when the dance gets hot, hot. Love is what I got.
Yeah, so my aunt was a piano player. So when I was growing up, my aunt actually gave me piano lessons when I was like a really little kid, you know, and I was in like second or third grade, and you know, I did that for, I don't remember how long, but for a while, and that kind of like laid the groundwork. And then, you know, when I was listening to like, when I was like a kid, I was listening to like all these bands like Green Day and Fall Out Boy, and I was like, it would be the coolest thing to be a guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in, like 5th grade, I asked for a guitar for my birthday and got one, and really didn't learn anything on it. Like, I think I was just too young to do anything productive with the guitar, and I put it down. I thought like, obviously that's not something I'll ever do. And then when I was like a junior in high school, I got involved with like a group of friends, and when I was in middle school, I was a percussionist, so like in our school band, I played drums. My older brother was a drummer, you know what I mean? So, and like growing up, I thought my older brother, like everything he did, I basically just copied and tried to do, like my older brother, like got really into skate. Like my older brother was a soccer player, so I tried to play soccer. I was never any good at it. My older brother was a skateboarder. I tried to skateboard, never was any good at it. And then so like basically I learned how to play drums because my brother was a drummer, so I thought that was cool. And I when I was in high school, I joined this band as a drummer, and the guitar player, like I remember like watching him and being like, I think I could get back into that, figure it out, So I got back into it, and I just started, like I got into it, like really into it, and
What's the first song you remember learning how to play?
The first song I remember learning to play, honestly, it was Stairway to Heaven. I remember I got real stoned and like sat down with the guitar and like looked up the tabs on the internet and like learned how to play that, like at least the opening riff, like the boom doo doo doo, like that first part of that song. And I like learned it, and like you're supposed to play it by like holding chords down, and like playing these different chords, but I didn't know that at the time, so I was just playing like each individual note, and it was like way harder than it needed to be. And that was like the first like real song I learned how to play. Like when I was little, I learned like Ode to Joy, like and a couple of like simple songs like where Hot Cross Buns and stuff like that, but that was like the first song I learned. Like since then, it's just been a part of my life. I've just there like when a day goes by that I haven't played guitar, I'm like, I feel bad about it. Like I don't feel good, and that's basically been how I've felt for like ever since I was picked it back up. It's like drums are fun, and I don't play them anymore, but whenever I get a chance to, I love it. It's fun, and you bring so much energy to things, but you can't really be a solo drummer, like you can't like, I guess you could, but like you can't like learn, like you can learn songs on the drums, but like no one's gonna, like if you're like, okay, I'm gonna play a song on the drums, people are gonna be like, wait, you're just playing the drums. They're not gonna be like, oh, that's
they would know that it's the drum track to Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I think that like the ability to play alone on guitar to me was attractive, because like I didn't need any accompaniment at all. I could just accompany myself. I would say I'm a person that's comfortable being alone, like very much so. I think like I love social interaction, and like like right now it's like I'm traveling alone. I spend most of my time alone, so I really crave it now, but like I would say that when I compare myself to like my brothers or like my peers in college, generally I'm pretty good at being alone, and I think a lot of that has to do with like things like the guitar, which I can do while I'm alone, or like like reading. Like I love to read, and I can do that. I do that better when I'm alone, or like I like to run. I do that alone, like like most of the things I like to do are things that in solitude I think are better, and also too, it's just like I find it's so much easier to coordinate yourself when you're alone, you know what I mean? Like when you don't have other people to kind of like, I don't really like relying on other people. I don't really like other people relying on me, you know what I mean? So I think that solitude is easy for me for that, and like also too, it's like I find it difficult to find people that you can spend like a ton of time with for a long time and not suddenly kind of have them drive you crazy, like I've had a lot of friends that I love to death, like absolutely love, and I think like we've just spent so much time together that suddenly it's like you kind of like you just go a little crazy. So I kind of like came from a family where like college was kind of just sort of like expected, you know, like both of my parents are college educated, you know, and I think it was just something that was like kind of bound to happen. And yeah, so I went, and when I went to school, I really had no clue what I wanted to do. But I knew that like when I was in high school, I was like a good student, you know, like I got by, but I wasn't like necessarily like a super hard worker. And I was like terrified when I got to college that like I was gonna like flunk out and like blow it. And like suddenly it's like, you know, college costs money. It's like high school doesn't cost money. You can kind of fuck off, and it's fine,
like
you know.
kind of riding on it.
Yeah, exactly. So I got to school and like I worked pretty hard like all the way through college. And like, well, I got a degree in biochemistry.
Oh, you did? Nice.
Yeah, so I have a chemistry degree, which is.
So you actually finished college before you actually started going out and exploring and traveling.
Yeah, and I did a lot of kind of that exploring and traveling in college. You know, like every year on spring break, me and my buddies would come kind of like down to this area, you know, like Southern California and Arizona, and kind of go and just, you know, fart around. And kind of those experiences, I think, like made me realize that like, you know, like sleeping on the ground's not that bad, and like living in your car is not that bad, and like you get, and like the trade-off of being able to see so many cool things and meet cool people, and you know, it's like, to me, it's like super worth it. And I think a lot of those experiences when I was in college, like those traveling experiences with friends, was like really what kind of inspired me to kind of live this lifestyle now, you know?
Yeah, you had this life kind of set up already.
Yeah.
So what kind of made you be
well,
like, you know, I'm going to go do a whole different thing that's not what the norm expected of, you know, my family?
Well, you know, I got a job, you know, and I didn't like it.
For you.
I didn't like it at all. I got a job, you know, like working in a clinical laboratory, you know. So, and what we did is we did tests on disinfectant, like topical disinfectant products. So like we would like test like hand sanitizers and soaps and different things on human subjects, and you know, just like being inside all day and kind of getting paid to be bored, you know, is like how it felt to me. And it just like eventually kind of, so I worked that job for like 4 months, and I realized like this is not where I should be. This isn't like where God or the universe or whatever wants me to be. And, you know, like I ended up quitting that job, and you know, and then I got a job working on a farm for about like 6 or 7 months. I really like that, but I also had this thing with like music, and like all throughout college I had been like busking or street performing, you know, like I would do that on weekends to make money when the weather was good. And like, you know, like especially like, I don't know, like this last summer when I was still living up there, I went out every weekend, and I never had to use my savings I never had to spend my money on anything, you know, because I just had this cash from street performing. So I like realized like this is something that I can use to, you know, like work on my art and share my art with people and travel and make a little bit of money. So like, you know, I kind of figured it was like a no-brainer. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not go and, you know, pursue that? So.
Heat of the western wind, and take heed of the stormy weather. Yes, there's something you can send back to me. Spanish boots of Spanish leather.
When did you leave Michigan?
When I graduated high school. So I left Michigan, moved to Montana, went to school there.
Yeah. So in Montana, that's when you learned to do the street performing?
Yeah, that's when, that's like kind of when I remember there was one time where it was like a Friday night and I wasn't doing anything, or like a Friday afternoon, wasn't doing anything. And I figured like, oh, I'll go downtown and like try street performing, you know, because I had seen it before, you know, I'd seen people doing it before. And I went down there, and like at the time, like I don't think I was very good. I definitely didn't have nearly like I didn't have like, you know, I didn't have what I had now as far as like musical ability, you know, but like I went down there and like, and I made a little bit of money, you know, and like I remember being like, holy cow, I think I made like $27 in like 2 hours.
Got some sort of reception.
Yeah, and I was just like, whoa, I made money, and you know, like I went and like bought beer with it or whatever, or something like that, you know, and it was like, hell yeah, this is awesome. I played covers for a while. I remember I started playing my own music, like I started writing songs about, I think it would have been 3, maybe 4 years ago when I was a sophomore in college, and so I was like...
Do you remember your first song that you wrote?
Yeah, I do actually, yeah. It was my little brother's birthday actually, so I kind of like wrote him a song for his birthday, and also like there was a kid in our like that we went to high school with who had just like committed suicide, you know, or died from suicide, and he was pretty close with my little brother, so he was like really sad about that, and that was the first song I ever wrote was that one, you know, and then there was like after that I realized like, oh, you can write songs and you can just do it, you know, it's like not that hard, and I wrote a bunch. I wrote like probably like 20 or 30 songs. Most of them I don't even remember, like most of them never got recorded, but you know, like I just
getting the ideas out of your mind, you know, just
there was like a period of time where I was just writing a ton of songs, and then I would say like now it's like I haven't written anything in kind of a while, because like realistically I feel like I haven't had very much to write about recently, you know, but I think a lot of it is I write songs when I'm sad, you know, like if I get dumped I usually like write a bunch of songs. Yeah, exactly. You know, like the only album I've put out, I feel like half those songs are like about like someone that like I got dumped, you know, and like, I haven't, I just haven't like, I feel like my muse is kind of gone, you know, like not gone, but like, I don't know, I haven't just felt that urge, you know, and like I feel like usually like the song kind of writes itself when you got something to write about, and I don't know if I've had that. I'm kind of the type of person that like I'll meet someone who's better than me, and I will suddenly kind of get in my head like, holy cow, I gotta figure it out. I gotta like
as I thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of have that a little bit, which I think kind of to a fault. Like I think it's good to just sort of sometimes appreciate like what you've done, but and like there's actually this, there's like a bluegrass band in Montana, like in Bozeman where I went to school, and their guitar player is so good, and I remember like watching him and just being like, holy cow, like that's where it's at, and like I don't know, like there's been a couple times like that.
What are you trying to portray in your art? What story are you trying to tell?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I really like for people, not necessarily with the words that I'm using, but more so with my voice and the way I'm using it to kind of portray how I'm feeling, and that's kind of what I try to do, is like sort of portray, kind of like just like play with a lot of emotion and try to like I notice when I'm, putting a lot of emotion into what I'm doing, it's better, and it sounds better, and it's just better overall. So yeah, I guess the story kind of changes while the song remains the same, but so like I don't know, I wouldn't say there's like one particular message that I'm like trying to portray, because it's like, but I don't know, I noticed that, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good answer, but yeah. My singing is something that has been honed through street performing, you know what I mean? Because that's when you need to sing loud and you need to sing with force. Or like I remember actually one time I was on a spring break and I was in Mission Beach, Mission Beach, San Diego, trying to busk, and this older dude came up to me, and he was like a guy who like played like blues guitar with like an electric guitar and like a backing track, and he was like sitting there listening to me play, and I made like I think like $7 in like 3 hours. Like I did really bad, like I didn't make any money. I don't know about doing bad, but he came up to me and he's like, no one can hear you. Like no one, like your problem is you're too quiet. You need to get an amp. You need to get a mic. And I was like, man, he's right. And then I think like kind of through street performing, I've realized I don't need to get a mic. I don't need to get an amp. I just need to play loud. You know, I need to sing loud.
Amplify my own voice.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like that is something that, especially like just like even these last 6 months since I've been like traveling a lot and using music as like my primary job, like I noticed my voice has become powerful. And that's not really something I've always felt until recently. But
what do you like about street performing the most?
I really like when people appreciate what I'm doing. Like I really like having people, like one of my favorite things that people say to me is, hey, I don't have any money, but that was good. That was awesome. Like that was really great. Like that's one of my like I don't mind hearing that at all. And I also just love how it provides me, the ability to travel. Like that to me is like the most valuable thing about it, is that it's something that you don't need to plan out in advance. Like you don't need to have any sort of like prerequisite to where you're gonna go. You just kind of go somewhere and shoot your shot. And if there are people there that'll listen and throw you $1, like you can get to the next spot. And that to me has just become a very valuable and useful thing. You meet people in unexpected places, and you meet people all over the place, and you never know what impact you're going to have on people, either positive or negative. Like you don't realize what you do. Like it can have a big, it can mean a lot to people, or it can, hurt people's feelings, even if you don't know them. Like to me, that like kind of like that, I don't know, that the effect you can have on strangers, just sort of like in that initial interaction with them can be pretty, it can like make or break their day or make or break their week. Or
is that kind of what draws you also to busking and playing?
Yeah, I would say it definitely does. That can be really rewarding when someone is like suddenly like very like, oh hey, like that. Like for example, I had one woman, I was playing in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I have this woman come up to me and she's like, hey, the way that you're doing that, like the way you're just singing with all your heart, it reminds me of my son who passed away, and it's like that, which means a lot to me, and like, like just be careful, be safe, and like to me that was like, I play the same, songs in different towns, and it's like to me they're just songs, but not to everybody, so that's cool.
Whiskey, won't you come and take my trouble? I can't seem to do it on my own. In the morning there is hours and infinity. Silent evening, come take me home.
My drink at? Already forgot my beer. It's no good.
I rode as a train to Carolina. That's where I'm gonna go. Feel the warm sunshine on my shoulders. Live my days a friend is that soul. So whiskey, won't you come and take my trouble? 'Cause I can't seem to do it on my own. In the morning there is hours and infinity.